Caroline, great to see you. Thanks for making a bit of time to come and have a chat. I know you've been busy because we were just talking about how busy you were a second ago. So I appreciate that. I want to kick off by asking you about something, a point that you made to me when we were last talking. You said business is not set up for being a mum.
Mm,
And I think probably quite a lot of women would agree with that, and a lot of blokes,
yeah.
actually. I mean, tell me, how did you figure that out? I mean, what does that mean to you? And also, why is that important in relation to your business? I mean, just sort of talk us through some of those things.
I guess like many women my age, you might have had the privilege of a good education, the privilege of parents who are like, you can go do what you want to do, get a career. You're
Mhm.
really encouraged to get a career. And, I also went to an all-girls school, so I kind of just didn't think, it was a thing anymore that there was I mean, obviously, the gender pay gap was there, but I was brought up in that millennial women world of we can have it all, we can do it all. And then it was kind of a crash bang when I became pregnant. And I got promoted quite quickly while before pregnancy and then became pregnant. And I got promoted from overworking quite simply. And so I think my first realization while I was still in denial was that I couldn't overwork like I was, and my value in that particular organization was overworking. And like I said, I'm glad a lot more men are entering the conversation now because I think there are like it's not just about women having time with their children, but it's the fathers are wanting it now too. They get it, and it's not just all on the mother. But yeah, for me, it was a bang crash land. I took very little maternity leave, and I think for me, it was that really I gave very little respect to how much a woman goes through to birth a child and how much it changes you, which it does, and it's not a bad thing, but it does, and why that maternity leave is needed for you, not just for learning your new life as a parent. So I think from that, and then I just went all in full-time working and putting my child in nursery, and the nursery was fantastic, and he was fine, but I think it became quite clear the company weren't interested in me as much as anymore while I was navigating a period of change, which we can all go through without even becoming a parent. If you lose someone in your life, you become a carer for someone else who's not necessarily a child. But it kind of shows me that I'd kind of been sold this world that was wrong. It was okay for one type of woman, aka, although they're now saying career doesn't work for a lot of women at many stages, including menopause and things like that. But I think it became really clear that it was the company was run by two young men who hired male advisors who also weren't parents yet, and they didn't have a clue what I was going through. And I think that I felt like I'd failed, but then slowly as my friends started having babies and I seeing this story, while not the same as mine, but seeing lots more stories like this, I was like, oh, I'm not alone. This is a thing.
Yeah. And but the upside to this, tell me if I've got this wrong, but that experience led you to do a whole load of different things. Is
Yeah,
that fair?
yeah, yeah,
Tell,
no,
tell us,
and
so tell us about what those things are.
so I'm now very grateful. Well, because now it's 5, 6 years ago, I got made redundant, experienced job loss and COVID as well. So I decided to set up my own business because of something I'd also been fortunate about. I'd had the men in my life, so both like my granddad, my dad run their own accountancy firms. I'd always seen business owning as a path and kind of had that option on the table. And I thought, wow, I know I was a great VA. I'm going to go and start my own VA agency because I know I can do it better.
So you started this agency. I mean,
Yeah.
it's in one sense, it's one thing to say, I want to do that because I don't want to do this.
Mm.
But the other side to setting up a business is that you also have to have a view about where you're going. I mean, tell us about what is it you're trying to achieve, where are you going? I mean, give it, and why would that matter to people like your customers and stuff? I mean, give us a sense of the direction of travel.
Yeah, well, my whole experience as well. So the virtual assistant agency, it's in the PAEA world, which is also over 98% female, and it's
Mm,
been a very hard industry that is getting huge awareness. Again, at the minute of we've always been kept in a box because of it being a female industry as the legacy of that. Whereas the role has evolved hugely if you look at the history of it from the typist secretaries of the 1950s to where we are now with the role and where we are going with the role with AI and everything. And I can see there was a huge need, especially in the UK, for a female run, former PA run agency. Because not only do I know what we do as a
Yeah.
service, what we're delivering, I've done it. I can support my team hugely, but I know exactly what the clients need, and we know we need that more because also I pay the team really well, but it means we provide an excellent service for the client, and that is our goal, is to be the biggest female run former PA
Wow. I
run
like to see a
UK
bit of
agency.
ambition. That's good. And let me ask you, about being a CEO. I mean, that's
Mm.
quite a jump from being a PA to being a CEO. How do you feel about that job that you're doing now? Because I mean, the other thing I know about being a CEO, even if it's only a very small company, I mean, it's still quite a tough gig. I mean, how do you feel about being the CEO?
I think at the minute I don't call myself the CEO, which is probably wrong. I call myself a founder still, and I probably need to change that at some point. I don't know what point of
Well,
revenue we change that.
the other way I think about it is CEO means Chief Everything Officer, which is
Yeah.
kind of founder.
But also, that's what a PA is as well. And I think what
Mm.
a lot of people don't realize about our role is that we are the closest person in an organization that really gets to see how great leaders, how great C-suite leaders and not great ones lead and
Yeah,
how they do it.
yeah.
So I've actually had probably a lot more exposure to both C-suite leaders in large organizations in, say, the NHS and things like that, but also founders of startups, and really seeing the back end of everything and how it works. So I actually think I've kind of been learning along the
Mm.
way what's good and what isn't, which I think if I was in any other department in an organization, I might not have had
Yeah,
access to
because you're
that.
not in a silo, are you?
Sorry?
You're not in a silo.
Yeah.
You're working across the piece,
Mm.
like your boss, the CEO.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's a huge amount of responsibility, especially as a small business, which we are, especially in an economy that is struggling, especially when our support for small businesses isn't amazing right now in the UK. So it is a challenging time trying to, you've got to do what small businesses do well, and that's be creative and just try and lead well
Yeah.
and keep going.
I mean, the other thing that people tell me is that being the CEO, leading a business, founding a business, building a business, however you want to describe it, is also a bit of a roller coaster. You know, good days, bad days, everything in between. And a lot of that is emotional. A lot of it is, it's about dealing with things that go wrong. It's about dealing with failure, stuff that is emotionally difficult. I mean, what is it about the challenge of building a business that kind of gets you to, if you like, leap out of bed in the morning and you want to ride that roller coaster? I mean, what is it about this that motivates you?
I think ultimately the real belief in our business and in our industry, I really, really know what our industry needs. I can see the potential and the excitement there. I really believe in it, and I really believe in our business, and the people and the great people are what keep me going and doing it. And like I said, it is exciting. Yes, is it sometimes like, oh my goodness, what's going to hit me today? But then it's also like, oh my goodness, what's going to hit me today?
Yeah.
I've had far more opportunities as a business owner in my past, it's 6 years this summer, 6 years this summer in 2026. Far more opportunities that have landed on my plate than I ever would have got as an employee.
Yeah. And the other thing that interests me about that is, as you just pointed out, I mean, there are a lot of things happen. You don't, there's surprises, aren't they? You wake, I mean, you wake up and you never quite know what's going to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
what sort of surprises, if you like, have you had to navigate?
I mean, it could be anything. Like, an amazing client might give notice and there's nothing you can do about it
Mm,
because they're a large organization, the bottom line's being cut, and the person we're supporting has been told they are making that cut even though
yeah,
they don't want
yeah,
to. So there's that. But then there's amazing ones where, yeah, you get clients come into your inbox. You're like, oh, I wasn't expecting to hear from you, people from your past. Great team members come in that you can have challenges pop up where a team member, I'm a people business at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
in a people business, people issues happen and like nothing to do with us or the clients, but sickness, bereavement. And so
Yeah.
sometimes we're going through a
Yeah.
period where I'm like, okay, right, need to rejig who's working with who, get some cover in, sort out some backup, make sure everything's there. So there's still those things you're like, okay, I've been doing this 6 years, 10 years in the industry, full stop, where I was involved in this side. But there's a lot, or sometimes you might have an invite. I've got an invite to an NHS, a large NHS Foundation Trust to speak, do the keynote speak at the
Right.
opening of their admin week, which is because
Right.
that's where I started my PA career. So, and there's always surprise. That's an example of good at surprise. We're like, oh, where's this come from?
Yeah. 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 Lots of positive stuff.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about you're excited about the kind of future because you're excited. You've got a. I think you just used the phrase. You've got a clear idea of what the industry needs. I mean,
Mm,
just tell us about what you think the industry needs. I mean, give us a sense of that because things are moving fast
mm.
with AI. I mean, looking in on it, that's my perspective, is that AI is kind of changing how quite a lot of stuff works and is probably going to change even more stuff in the future. I mean, what is it that excites you particularly?
Well, I think in the past with our role, well, I know in the past, it was hugely a thing like, oh, the PA was only reserved, a PA that is. Obviously, you could go down other routes where it was just admin, the filing, whatever it was. But PAs were only for C-suite leaders, and it was this hidden secret. And you still get some PAs like traditional ones, like I'm happy to be the hidden secret. And the reality is, in 2026, when cuts are being made all over the shop in businesses, that's how a role gets cut if you're a hidden secret because no one knows the value you bring. So there's a lot more call for understanding the value of personal executive assistants, administration in general. But what is exciting, it's been exciting ever since, I mean, when computers in the 80s came around and then the internet in the 90s and emails, our roles have been evolving. And now we're just going through another one with AI. And we've always been the organization, the productivity specialist, the administrative specialist. And what do you need in that? Now there's AI, is people who can specialize their productivity and admin in and use AI to support that. So that's why it's exciting because that's where it's just enhancing what we can do, maybe even providing more of it. I say it's similar to the role of the bookkeeper when financial software came in like Sage and Zero, their roles didn't go anywhere. They just did them differently.
Yeah, I mean, in that sense, AI is probably a productivity tool, isn't it? It enables you to do
Yeah,
more and
yeah.
more efficiently.
And
And
also our emotional intelligence, which has always been a key part for our role. Those what some people might call soft skills, how we read a room, how we can see an organization is going, how we can pull the other pieces together.
yeah,
That's
yeah, because as
hugely
you just
needed.
said, it's a people business, so you've got to be able to read people and deal with the kind of emotional component to that, because people aren't
Mm,
logical for the most part.
yes.
Um, yeah. Let me ask you about to come back to the thing about the role of the CEO. I mean, how would you say your personal values have influenced how you've built the business?
um, I think learning how I am a huge people person has influenced the business. I've just needed to understand myself fully to understand the best way to build a team and nurture a team because I don't think I've always known that. And so my values about making sure everyone's connected, we all believe in each other, we all support each other. That is huge for me. And I have always made a point of being hugely ingrained in the wider assistant and VA community outside of Upsource because I just know we all need to work together in order to
Mm.
support the industry. So that's come through in how I've built a business, and I've not gatekeeped in a traditional sense with
Yeah.
that, and take my abundant mindset into business.
But let me ask you something that kind of relates to the values, which is about ethics. I mean, one of the
Mm,
things about working for other people, supplying services to other people, is that you you, there's the ethical world that you operate in, but there's also the ethical world that they operate in, or maybe don't operate in,
yeah,
depending on who you
yeah.
work. I mean, what's your take on the kind of ethical dimension to those working relationships? I mean, things like confidentiality and
Oh,
so
oh
on.
gosh, yeah, you've got to take that hugely seriously because
Mm,
while tech It's amazing and leaves us open to so much. It also leaves us open to so much risk. And there's a huge amount that we have access to as a business and as PAs you have access to. So got to make sure all our policies, all our procedures are, accurate and up to date. We take them seriously. We take data seriously. We have security software, one password, which we utilize. We make sure all clients are aware of, I don't log into any client information, only the person working on it does. And we've all got to be hugely careful on that side of things, and how we support our clients and making sure. So for example, a client needs to guide us if they want us to use AI. If they don't, we shouldn't be using it, and how they want it used and what tools they want us to use, because some clients will be Microsoft and we can only use Copilot. So we've got to be very clear on the boundaries with our clients.
Yeah, yeah, which I guess means sort of careful upfront planning.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Let me ask you about your role as the CEO in this setting, because you've got what is essentially a remote team. Am I wrong?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, remote teams are great. I mean, I'm
Mm.
a huge fan of them, but they are trickier to manage. And kind of you're managing a team that is then supporting another team, if you get my drift. I mean, what's your take on managing people remotely? You've already said it's a people business, but it's also a people business that's facilitated by technology. It's not a people business in the sense of everyone coming into the same room once a week or
No.
every day or whatever. But what's your take on managing and enabling your people to perform at a very high level
Mm.
whilst only being supported and managed remotely?
It largely all comes down to processes and communication. So we are really clear normally if something's not going well with a client or something, there's a breakdown in communication. So we set that from the start and have certain processes that set a standard set of comms from the start. We have time tracking software, which we are very clear on our expectations of how it should be used live, why it needs to be used live. So everything has a why behind it. I'm not sat there stalking that everyone's done their hours, but there is an element of like, we need to know at any point if a client gets in touch at 3 a.m. on a Friday, I should have that data for them. So
Yeah,
everything we do, while genuine connection and the people are at the front of it, it's in the back of it is the process and the guidelines. And
yeah,
people who say they can't, I mean, loads of people were saying this pre-COVID, oh, we'd never be able to work remotely, but they didn't have the process or the systems in place. And that is a huge part of what PAs do, is set great processes and systems. So
yeah,
in that side of it, and I am quite particular about this. I can see stuff that not necessarily, that's what I start to realize, and I have to calm down that element of my personality. I can see things that people maybe can't necessarily see. So I'm really pernickety on a process.
yeah. And as you've just described, process and compliance pretty important. But the
Mm,
flip side to that is because it's how you inspire a team, how you facilitate or enable a team to do its best work. So I take your point about process and compliance. Obviously, that's important. I mean, what was Thatcher's phrase? Trust but verify. You've got to trust people to get on with the job, but you need to be able to check that they've done it. I mean, I get that. What about the,
mm.
the other bit, the leadership, the inspiration piece, the vision thing? I mean, what's your take on all that in your context?
Um, I'm always trying to make it clear, like why Upsource is doing what we're doing, why we're here. Ultimately, I know what the team want from us, and I always check in on that. On it, we do a feedback form annually, and it checks like what would keep you here, and it mostly boils down to rate of pay. It does boil down to the team culture, but also
Right.
clients ultimately, because as a PA, I know how intent if you're not happy working with your client, you're not going to be happy at Upsource. And that's why we take the fitting process super seriously. And clients don't sign up until they've met a VA. And I say that introduction call isn't just about the client, it's about the VA being like, yeah, I'm happy to proceed. There is no point me trying to get two people to work together that shouldn't be working together.
Mm.
And we keep an eye on that relationship continuously throughout. And if either party isn't happy, that's when we can make a change. And I know it's knowing what the team wants ultimately, and that is the first and foremost thing. And I know that from being a PA. You could think Upsource is great, but it's not going to work for you if you're unhappy with your client.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I mean, that's very practical and sensible, it seems to me. The other thing that interests me is, I mean, as we were talking about a second ago, I mean, building a business It's like riding the roller coaster. It's ups and downs, and that's a tough gig.
Mm.
But it's also tough because you're in a relatively small team. I mean, it's not as if there's 100,000 of you. I mean, you're in a relatively small team. So the other thing is it can be quite tough for staff. So the thing that interests me is how do you build resilience in your team? I mean, you're obviously very resilient. How do you
Mm.
build that across your team? Because if things go wrong, it's tough on them as well as it
Yeah.
being tough on you, isn't it?
It's really tough, and I think that's probably where I can show my empathy is that a lot of the team are already experienced, so they can already bring,
Yeah.
their feedback from unsuccessful relationship. I think as a PA, you don't get to like 10, 20 years in your career and it's been smooth running. And if it has, that might be a bit of a flag for me. And in working with us because I'm like, okay, right, you've had a great boss, same boss for 20 years. How are you going to handle this kind of thing unless we get the right client? And I always believe there's such thing as the right client and the right VA. But I think that's where I can show the empathy piece because I have been there. I think people can forget when you've built an agency, built a business, that I have worked with clients and or bosses that I'm like, this isn't working. What am I doing wrong? And it is very intense because it's a very close relationship
Mm.
role, or can be, depending on the role and the person. And I think we just always make it clear, like, we're supportive of them. And, and I always make it clear if you're not happy, you don't have to work with that client. I think that's always an important option to have from my perspective.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's kind of, up to them. It's just making sure we come from a place of support and knowing exactly what they're doing and how hard it can be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what was going through my mind as I was asking the question was your thing about the business not being set up for mums.
Yeah.
It's one thing to say. It's another thing to make people feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like so when we say, because I say communication is important, when we put a VA forward for a client, we're very clear on what the hours the VA is wanting to work and to be available. And but also there are times I have to say, look, I spoke to a PA recently, and her main core services are your traditional PA support, your inbox management, your diary management, and she wanted to work 2 days a week. And I'm like, okay, look, we know realistically though you've done the role, so sometimes I am that kind of harsh person that has to be
Mm,
like, I'm not saying this isn't possible, it might not be through my agency, and you might need to go on this journey to find out how you navigate this and what services you want to provide. Maybe you retrain if that's your non-negotiable, and you've got to find your own in this world on negotiables and non-negotiables for working. um so yeah, and it is, it is such a challenge, the juggle and finding but we get quite a few clients who really understand it. I think actually a lot of our clients quite enjoy the school hour working as well, because they know, oh, during 10 till 3 or 9:30 till 3, that's my core hours for my assistant to be around, and they think they quite enjoy that.
yeah, yeah. And often that works at a very practical level,
Mm,
doesn't it?
mm.
And often the client has kids, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. We've got plenty of clients with kids, which is great. And yeah, and I have been as well the kind of challenger, because I think this narrative has quietened down. There's quite a lot of narrative at one point of like, I'm going to have a baby and then I'm going to come at this point and I'll work around the baby. And I've been, or I probably can't bring you on because like being a mother is a job and this
Mm,
is a job as well. And I think there was a bit of this narrative at one point, not helped by the VA community, not the hot white everyone, but there was some TikTok things going around about, oh, you just work from your phone, making it sound so much easier than
mm.
it is. And it is a career and it is a job. So, and so is motherhood. And they just both have to have their boundaries if you're a working parent.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's boundaries, but it's also balance.
Yeah, or I think a lot are saying, what's it, not work-life balance, work-life. That was another word, and now it's completely gone from my head because you just never are going to get the right balance. There's times I'm with my kids and a
Mm,
client has to speak with me, and that's it. I mean, my kids are a bit older now, so I can either bribe them or say like, or you just have to be quiet during this because mummy has to work, and they get it now. They're not
yeah.
babies anymore.
Mm,
But yeah, I think it's like, well, it wasn't work life connection, but it's just a way of being, like I used to not have as many boundaries in my calendar, and then I realized it was really stressing me out. It wasn't serving me for the school run, so I don't take calls after 2:30 anymore unless there's some exceptions or I know in advance I can
Mm,
figure it out. I'm always available for clients, and in that sense, is there is something to talk about, and I'll figure it out. But it's not the standard opening in my diary.
mm. And what would you say when you think about your business? Because it's been very successful. What would you say are the factors that have led to that success? Because you're in quite a competitive world, competitive market, aren't you?
I do think I've got a city privilege. I live in London and I network and network and network. And
Okay.
I think in not necessarily agency space, but there's a lot of VAs out there who are fantastic at their jobs. A lot of PAs out there are fantastic at their jobs, but they don't want to go out networking, or they're not in the right places to go out quite as much as I do. So, my job as a CEO and a leader is to get out there and get the
Mm.
business out there. And I've been fortunate. I've prioritized that, and even around kids and not being able to go out every night and things
But
like
you've got
that.
to find a way to get to know clients, or you can't build the business. I mean, that's the practical
Exactly.
reality, isn't it?
Hmm.
And that's difficult to do purely online. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And I was lucky during COVID when I was pregnant and starting it that there was only online communities. But I realized I got a referral this week for someone I met through online networking 6 years ago in
wow.
COVID. She sent someone to me. So it's still, and that's the power of networking. It just pays off, especially if you've got a social presence and they keep following you. So I do think that set us apart. I think my learnings are the fact I will always be open. I was an employed VA. I saw what worked, but what really didn't work, and have gone out
Mm.
of my way to avoid that. Um, Being a PA myself, like I said, I just no, I do think I love the matching of VAs and clients. I think there's something that I kind of
And let me
fits
ask
quite
you
well
about that
with
because
me.
it's easy to say I match a good VA with a good client. Well, it's easy to say. It's a bit more tricky to do, I would guess. I mean, just give us a sense of how you work out the fit.
Well, firstly, it starts with skills. So, yeah, I find out exactly what the client needs, what they're looking for, alongside the skills, what the capacity they need, the hours they need,
Yeah.
so time available. Is there potential for it to grow, or will it just be that? Or do we need someone who will keep that capacity? And I'm normally all the way through the call thinking, oh, so and so, whether they're on the team already or people I want to bring onto the team. And then I might put normally 1 to 3 profiles in front of them, and then that's when I also do get a gauge of personality fit, and that's something you can't put on paper. If I'm like meeting someone, I'm like, I've got a client meeting another VA today. She wants a second one to help on a project, and I just knew this VA. I was like, oh, she's going to be wonderful with those two. She'll fit right in. And you can just get a sense of that. That's the emotional intelligence piece, and then,
Mm.
but then also you get that call booked in because you're like, right, I need to make sure of this.
Yeah. And let me ask you about that thing. I mean, let me ask you about the flip side. What's the biggest mistake that you've made? And what
Oh
did you
God.
learn from it?
um, I make a lot of small mistakes all the time.
I think most entrepreneurs would say that. I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's part of
I
that.
was saying I made two with the same person yesterday, and I said, well, I share my mistakes openly on a newsletter because I think this has been a history as well with PAs. We've not been given the feedback we've deserved because
Mm.
often, again, it's that legacy of the female role leaders will be like, oh, I'm not telling her that we've not been getting learning and development, and a part of that is real feedback and then opportunity to share our mistakes. I hired someone once who was a former mentor manager of mine. And it wasn't working out. And the problem was our relationships hadn't,
Mm.
I believe the mentor mentee relationships always dropping back and forth. And we were in a position where it was meant to go the other way, where I was that person. And I really didn't do a good enough job and it didn't end well, of taking the lead and being more of a leader in that sense rather than falling back into I can't tell her this kind of
And what
thing.
did you
And
learn from that? I mean, that sounds like a slightly painful experience by the
it
sounds of
was
things. What did you learn
painful,
from it?
more personally than
Yeah.
professionally, I feel, in that one. While it was professional, but it hit me personally, and I didn't enjoy it. And what I learned from it is to listen to my gut. I had a feeling it wouldn't work out, and you
Right.
can't. And I had a feeling, and I think it's because we both wouldn't have gone and flipped the roles around. And and I own my part in it. But I also know from my learnings not to always. It wasn't all me, and I think sometimes women we can feel, oh God, I did all of this wrong, but it wasn't just me. But my learning was personally, I don't think I should have not gone down that route there. And I think it's always being really careful about who I hire, and the people I tend to hire who I might have known this because I've known them through professional relationships anyway.
Mm, mm, yeah. And let me ask you about something that's related to that. What would you say? I mean, what sort of things keep you awake at night? Most of the entrepreneurs I talk to will tell you that part of the riding the roller coaster is the occasional sleepless night. Uh,
Yes.
I've certainly had one or two over the years. What are the things that have kept you awake at night?
I mean, normally I'm quite a good sleeper, but normally it's buzzing with ideas. So like that is and it's just as frustrating because it's not necessarily like ones you should pursue or things like that. So and you need to sleep. So that, especially as a mother, with that can be annoying. But normal things, and not hugely, but cash flow is, as a bootstrapped
Yeah,
business,
yeah.
that is always going
Paying
to
the
be
bill
something.
at the end of the
Paying
month.
the bills, paying your team, and then
Yeah.
just making sure cash flow is there, and you've paid your VAT, paid your corporation tax, which is all increasing. Sometimes when the planet enters a certain uncertain periods, like it is right now, it's like, okay, I'd set targets for myself. We're going to make them, are when we've had a little bit of client churn and I've got to replace it. Those will be the sort of things. And mostly, I just really care about the team. So I'm normally always just thinking, did I do good? If there'll be things where I'll be like, okay, did I show up as my best self in that interaction? Should I have done this? That'll be more
Mm.
those sort
And,
of
and
things that keep
let me ask
plugging
you about
away at
something
me.
that you just said. You talked about, thinking about stuff during the night, having
Mm.
ideas and stuff. A lot of it is stuff that you don't want to follow up on. I mean, I get that. I have lots of stupid ideas, and it takes me a while to work out whether they're stupid or not. Um,
Yeah.
but that's oddly enough, I mean, that's at the heart of strategy, actually, because strategy is somebody famous, I can't remember who said strategy is about mainly about what you don't do. And I
Mm.
guess the point is you could do all sorts of things. And the
Yeah.
challenge is to work out, well, okay, well, there's all these billion things I could do. What's the right things I need to focus on? What's your take on kind of, if you like, figuring out a way through the noise, all those other distractions? I mean, they always catch me because I have the shiny
Oh,
object that, I
I
like to
think
make
they
sure.
all do. I'm shiny object syndrome as well, and it's also comparisonitis. I think can get you as well. Is that
Mm,
the right way? I think I said that wrong, but never mind. Um, I actually did the Goldman Sachs Business Growth Program last year, and that really helped me because it's kind of laying out, okay, where do you want to go to as a business? What's your revenue target? All of that, and how are you going to get there? And it meant, okay, I can need to stop focusing on the noise and really go in
mm,
on this agency model. Because yeah, there's other areas I could go into: training, coaching, mentoring, but I don't feel that burn or passion for that. Yes, I could definitely make some money out of it, but I'd want to do it properly and be trained as a coach. So it would be another initial investment at
yeah, yeah,
first.
yeah,
Plus, I'm really passionate on making the agency model work and having a business that is making the agency model work and getting to this revenue target we have. So I think that program really helped me of being like, well, yeah, we could do all of these things, but is that the right choice for
yeah,
us?
yeah. And they're
And
difficult.
same with clients as well. You can easily do it as a service business. Like, oh, that's a great client, but they're not the right client for you,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very easy to
which
say.
I've
It's harder,
certainly
it's
done in the
harder to
past.
do. I think it's those sorts of things are easy to say, but much more difficult to actually get right. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Especially if you feel someone else is doing it, you're like, oh, I should be doing that. And it's like, well, is it going to make money? And right now, revenue and like I pay the bills, like that's needed
yeah,
over
yeah,
anything.
yeah. And to come back to the point you said a second ago about understanding what's important to the client as well. I mean, one of the interesting things about building a business is there's the thing about avoiding distraction, but there's also some stuff about uncertainty. I mean, particularly at the
Mm,
moment. So you
mm,
know what you might want to do, but you're not totally sure whether doing it is going to take you to the right place because there's
mm.
so much that is unpredictable. What's your feeling about how you kind of work out a way through the uncertainty? So it's not about the distractions; it's about the kind of the stuff that may or may not happen. I mean, what's your take on that?
As in, may or may not happen. As in, if I do this, this could happen, and it's like
Well, I'm
just
thinking, for example, I mean, you're working with clients out in the Middle East. And of course,
yeah.
there's lots of stuff going on out in the Middle East, which is going to,
Mm,
could create,
mm.
difficulties and what have you. I mean, so if you like, there's even more. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty in business anyway, but there's even more uncertainty in those kind of situations, isn't there? I mean, what's your
Mm.
feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to do listen, I've been someone who's been running this business since COVID, so I don't think I know anything but uncertainty.
Okay,
And I
right. So
think,
it's your world.
and
It's
yeah,
just
we
your
got our
world.
first client in Dubai, and yeah, they had to pause us while,
Mm,
hopefully things settled down. But then obviously living through COVID in Ukraine, I've known through business that these things don't like settle down. It's all just a bit more uncertainty
mm,
added on. So I think the sensible thing to say, especially with clients, is if you have been focusing on your clients and was looking to expand that, is to maybe pivot. Like that's what you've got to do if you're a small business. While I say like focus on your lane, also the beauty is we can pivot so much quicker than
yeah,
larger
yeah,
organizations.
yeah.
We've pivoted in several ways. I mean, we started up with freelancers, content writers, and I thought, oh,
Right.
these are the sort of people I'll keep it small and support them. And then I realized, while I had some amazing clients, we got the challenging ones that were really like I didn't want to get out of bed for, and I was like, well, I might as well have them, and they pay us more money, have go larger, and the least the larger ones are paying is good money. So I realized, you get your challenges in all client demographics, and we, have pivoted several times along the way in our client who we're going for as clients.
And you mentioned clients. I mean, the other interesting thing is that if you've got, I mean, doing business in London, very different from doing business in Singapore, as a for instance.
Mm,
I mean, the other interesting thing about having clients from all over the place is that there's cultural differences. I mean, doing business
mm,
in the Middle East has got a particular kind of flavor to it, isn't it? It's very different from, for example, doing business in LA or India.
yeah.
What's your take on the kind of cultural sensitivities, the kind of localizing your offer to meet the needs of that particular business community, let's say in Dubai? I mean, what's your take on that?
Oh yeah, I mean it's hugely needed. So this particular client, they were expanding there themselves, and they were run by someone who was UK born but lived in Dubai for a while, and we provided them with a VA who was actually South African and lived in Dubai for a while. Oh no, Venezuela actually. That was another candidate. But yeah, so we've put them with someone because we'd been aware like that they use WhatsApp for business on everything. I mean, sending contracts, and we're not just talking about chatting like you would your clients. We're talking about sending contracts with major hotels and things over WhatsApp, and no boundaries with evenings, things like that. So it was like that's why we wanted a VA base there who just had that more awareness, because a UK one might, could probably easily work within that as long as we set the standard, but they're just not going to be as localized. But that is why we are very careful with where our VA's experience, because it's got to be aligned. We largely work with UK based, got some European clients and some New York based clients, and they do all have their different ways of working and cultures, and we're working with ones that we kind of get. Like I've lived in America, I get them. We understand French people because we are we've all got that European connection, but we haven't expanded into other territories where I don't understand the cultural differences yet, because it's not been my focus. Plus, more I know there's a lot of potential in the places we are growing at the
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah. I
So
mean, why take the risk to go somewhere that you don't understand when there's loads of opportunities in somewhere that you do understand?
yeah, I have no experience in Australasia, for example, plus the time zone is terrible. So do
Yeah.
I really want to put myself through that of
Yeah.
expanding down there when I've got no experience in business down there? So,
Yeah.
I'm probably better off setting up a partner. I have come across a VA service there who a friend of a friend knows. I'd probably be better off setting up a referral partnership than expanding for
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
saying
No,
one day.
I see that. But let me ask you about, I mean, we've talked a bit about some of the challenges involved. Let me ask you, what is it about? because the business is your baby. What is it?
Mm.
What is the thing that makes you most proud about it?
Oh gosh. There's so many things. I'm proud that as well as providing an income for other, mainly women, we do have three men on the team, providing we pay well. I'm so proud of that, that we pay women for the work they
Mm,
should be being paid for, and we keep trying to do better with that. But we're working in a system where there's only so fast we can move with that. I'm really proud I can pay my own bills and contribute to the household, the fact it is all mine. I'm 100% the owner. No one else has ownership
mm,
of it, and I am really proud that I did it, even when my confidence for a while I'd been made to feel I would wasn't good at this, and I came back and did a bloody good job of it.
I mean, it's great. I mean, one of the things that I think one of the things about building a business is that there are ups and downs, but the ups you can say, "Well, I did that." I mean, it's great,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Tremendously
And,
rewarding.
and my whole experience of, being really passionate about a job that then kicked me in the bum, I guess to say, is that I am, and also working with founders now for 10 years. So I've been seeing all the startups come and go. And the ones that do best where you have a healthy distance from it, and are also separating myself from Upsource, as passionate I am as about it, it's not me. And if something changed and it wasn't part of me anymore, that's okay, because it's not whole me. And I think more founders really
Mm,
need to get that perspective, because too much passion can damage your
mm.
perspective.
Yeah, it takes away any kind of objectivity, doesn't it?
Yeah, and which isn't good for business as well. I
No,
think if you just put a business case flat out there, it's not good for business. And
no.
it makes you very boring company as well.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And in terms of some of the things you've learned along the way, if you were to go back, if you were to start from scratch, is there anything that you'd do differently?
Oh God, so I really did a great job. I can't lie. Like, I think with what I was working with as a pregnant woman with her second, the main carer for a toddler in a pandemic, I think I did a bloody good job of
Well done. Yeah,
it.
no, I'm sure you did. Yeah.
But I think what I would say, and I have said this, I won UK Best Newcomer VA in 2021. And I think I felt put my pressure on myself of, right, wow, now I've got to live up to this award. Like,
Mm,
now I've got to really, and I think I could have just chilled out a little bit, but I think maybe that was a learning I had to go through.
mm,
So I think, when it comes to those early days, I made a lot more mistakes as an employee in a virtual assistant agency, I think. And but I think I'd gone through the real mill, that I was really determined I was going to make this work, but also, stop sacrificing myself,
mm.
and take maternity leave, which I did well.
Yeah, yeah. And to come back to the point you made a second ago about not being quite so passionate about it enables you to be more objective and therefore probably make better decisions.
Yeah. Oh, it's 100%, especially me. I can get very passionate about things. So
Yeah,
a little bit of healthy dose of
yeah,
not being so passionate is good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And if you were to offer some advice to a rookie CEO, somebody just starting out, I mean, what would that advice be?
Um, it's always about the people you have around you and being a good leader. And, the reason I managed to take that maternity leave is that I hired someone I knew, and who my husband could pick up the phone and be like, Caroline's not around anymore because our child was in NICU. And you've always got to keep stepping away as a CEO. You've got to be able to know what you
Mm,
need to do, know how to lead the business. And I'm going to say this as a VA agency owner, you've got to be able to delegate, because that's how your team will get frustrated. You've got to let them all do their jobs.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And one last question, really. And I know you're quite excited about the kind of next bit of the journey. I mean, what is it about the next bit that excites you? We've talked a lot about the journey you've been on. I mean, give us a sense of what excites you about the next year or two.
Well, I always had a goal of getting to a 40-person agency, and
Right.
slowly I got there.
Oh, well done.
And that
Wow,
was
okay.
this year, like, and April 2026 we are now. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I made that happen. And so it's like, oh, okay. And I know, we want to be £1 million revenue by 2028 April 2028. And we are going to we've already made some changes to get to this 40-person one, and it went okay. Putting another team structure in, all of that. So I'm interested to see what the next is it 2 years now? 2 years, yeah. It doesn't feel like a 3-year plan. Yeah, the 2 years to go, because I feel, I'm not, like I said, I'm not doggedly persistent on that's it. It's a people business. So if we need to pivot and it's not going to work, I'm, not strict with that, but I am excited to see if it does.
Yeah, yeah, it certainly sounds exciting, and I think, of course, what the other thing that will be happening over the next few years is that AI will be rolled out, won't it?
Yeah.
To a greater extent, and that will bring both some upside and probably some downside. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, I would have thought.
Yeah, and we've already gone through some of that roller coaster, like going to events, and it's like, what about AI? And it's like, well, what about AI? Do you know what a PA does? And you know what AI is doing right now?
Mm.
We're bringing in tech champions in our organization. So with
Right.
different, and this is it as well, AI kind of gets a bit plastered with AI, and it's like, okay, but which tool is right for you, and which tool are you
Yeah,
using, and
yeah.
what's the workflow? Like, especially with the impact on the environment AI is having, we've got to be really like, I want to be a champion as well for being very specific with the use case for AI. And I think we can do that by having tech champions and making sure we're doing it in the right way for our clients. So, because often people will be like, I want to use AI. And I was like, great, what's the process you want to use it for? And they're like, I don't have a process. Okay, well, let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I mean I think that's a really well made point, really, because your basic point is that every business is different, so you've got to apply it in the context that you're working in. It's not just this is how you do it; it's how you do it in this setting, and every business is different, isn't it? So I think
Yeah, and it's a lot of FOMO drumming on that sense. Like, even found a WhatsApp chats I'm at, like someone would be asking about, valid question, how feel like I should be using AI and automation for this, and someone pipes up going, well, I'm using Lovable, it goes to this, and I'm like, you guys have very different businesses though, and you're just giving them more FOMO because you're probably a one-woman band selling a particular one strategy session that you can put all this automation in for, versus someone like us, if we're working with a big organization and we're just going back and forth with procurement and dealing with their systems. I can't automate
yeah,
that.
yeah, no, that's right, that's right. Caroline, thank you for making a bit of time. I mean, what a great story, and I mean, as you just said, I mean, lots of exciting stuff on the horizon, really. So it sounds great. So I really appreciate you making time to come and have a chat. I mean, really appreciate that. Thank you for being open and sharing your mistakes and talking about the challenges involved, and good luck going forward.
Yeah, and thank you, Paul. It's been lovely to chat. Thank you.
All right, see you again. Bye bye.